Welcome to my tutorial for Speed Limit. And this was played on Series X, but it's pretty much on all modern platforms. PS4, Switch, PC. And I got it for $10. And I'm definitely going to post a review of the game, but I definitely thought it was worth $10. I would have paid more for it if it was a longer game. The only issue with it is that it's a little short. But I recommend playing on normal mode for the first time through, since arcade mode, I believe it limits your lives and continues. So, while I haven't tried that mode, that's what I heard. So, I would recommend starting it on normal. So basically the way the game works is you have unlimited continues. And it does save if you exit the game. It will save the last checkpoint you got to. So, you can always select and replay stages that you beat as well. So, you don't have to beat it in one sitting, which is good. But this game is a lot like Hotline Miami and Super Meat Boy. It's one of those rapid death type of games. So, you want to make sure that you like those kind of games before jumping into it, because you will die a lot. It's a trial and error type of game. So, when I first started the game, I was using a retro-bit controller, which was a 6-button Genesis-style controller based on the old Sega Genesis, and it worked okay for this stage, but I think the game is designed to play with analog sticks, for more precise aiming. So, once I got to the driving stage, I switched controllers, as I wasn't able to fire in more than one direction on the Genesis pad. But yeah, the idea here is that you're just going to run, and as with the entire game, you just want to get to the next checkpoint, and then you can permanently start from that checkpoint. There's no live system or anything like that. It's basically like if you get to the next checkpoint, it will save. And then you can just keep trying from that checkpoint. So the part where the game gets the most challenging is going to be on the final boss, which I have some pretty good strategies to be able to beat that, though it is a little bit of a tedious fight. So in this room, you're going to be mobbed by a lot of enemies. So you want to make sure you kill them all, or they will chase you into the next room. So it is better to kind of take your time and try to take them all out, as you see here. And then you can go in here without having enemies behind you. Make sure you take the enemies out on the top, because they will keep shooting at you. All you really have to do is make it to the next room. So if you can run past certain enemies, you can try to do that as well. But the shield enemies, pretty much blocking your way in that room. So this is the first difficult checkpoint of the game. And it can be tricky because you have to get pretty far before you get to the next checkpoint. So you're just going to be shooting these enemies while ducking most of these barriers. But occasionally one will show up that you have to jump. Now, you can memorize this entirely, so eventually you're going to remember which ones to jump and which ones to duck on. And that's all it really is. You want to make sure you jump across when the carts break apart like that. It's better to duck and shoot, I believe, because enemies kind of run at while they're crouched. So it seems better to duck and shoot while running. And I believe this was the next checkpoint here with this minigun enemy. So take him out, and then you're going to have to memorize which ones to jump and which ones to duck on, pretty much. It's good to keep jumping if you can, as I was doing, because this helicopter will catch up to you and shoot you dead. So I found it useful to just keep jumping. And the only time I stop jumping really is when I need to either duck or reposition myself to jump over one of the moving barriers. That's about it. But aside from that, I try to keep the jumping going so that I can move faster. So after that first section, the game changes into a different style of gameplay, which it does frequently throughout the game, which is one of the things I really liked about the game. But this is really an arcade type of game. It's an arcade style type of game where you just have to make it to the next checkpoint, But it has a lot of variety, which I really like. But the main idea here is you're going to be weaving through traffic, and I recommend trying to take out the motorcycle enemies. Use your twin sticks to fire. And I do recommend trying to take out the motorcycle enemies when possible. It just gives you a little extra room. You don't really need to shoot at the cars here unless you want to. I don't know if you can take them out. I think I took that guy out by shooting at him, but the main enemy here is going to be the oncoming traffic and the motorcycles. So sometimes it helps to kind of weave up and down as you're driving at a medium speed. You really don't want to go at full speed. I remember using maybe medium speed, which you can adjust the speed, I believe, with right and left. Left, I believe, makes it slower, and right will accelerate. And then once you get the speed that you like, all you got to worry about is controlling up and down movement, which will, as explained, it'll control your up and down movement of your car on the screen. So you just press up and down once you adjust your speed. Then you don't have to worry about left and right anymore, unless you really need to, apply the brakes or something and slow down completely. But for the most part, I would just adjust my speed, and then once that was done, I focused on up and down mainly, because it's less to focus on. If you can focus on one thing, it does make it easier. So I would just focus on moving up and down, and I'd use one of the analog sticks to fire in the direction of the motorcycles, pretty much. You do want to avoid the oncoming traffic, obviously, because you do get one hit killed in this part. As with the entire game, it's all one-hit deaths. And some of the checkpoints are pretty long for all the shit that you have to do, so some of them take a while to memorize. And this part is a little tricky, because it's pretty fast-moving, but you're just going to have to memorize what's coming up and, what enemies to take out. Once you memorize a path, you can execute it pretty cleanly. So now the game, switches over to a overhead driving sequence, which is a little bit different of a camera perspective. So it changes up the gameplay yet again. It's kind of similar to Spy Hunter or something like that from the arcades and NES, which is cool. So here you're just going to zigzag from barrier to barrier. So every other barrier is going to be a different direction. So it's going to be, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, etc. You're just going to be weaving. And you don't even need to shoot during that part. Just focus on, driving at a decent speed and just weaving. But you don't want to go full speed, most likely. But I think if you go too slow, the screen may overtake you or something like that. So you got to find the right speed. But the main idea is just to weave left and right on that part. And basically for this tutorial, I'm showing the first death at each new checkpoint, but I don't show all the deaths after that on the checkpoint. I just show the death on each new checkpoint because I want the transitions to be smooth. I don't want it to be confusing. So I'm showing the first death so you can see where the checkpoints are in the stages. I think that's important. And this should give you a good idea. But if you're playing the game, of course, then you'll probably know where the checkpoints are anyway, but it is useful. There are no power-ups in this game, so it's basically just, you just learn the stages. But you don't have to, it's not like an arcade game where if you're not powered up, it's going to be a lot harder in this. I don't believe there's any power-ups in the game from what I remember. So the idea here, though, is, you want to try to drive through, drive past the enemies that you don't have to kill. You really don't have to kill most of them, but if an enemy is on your ass, you may want to take it out. Now, this is the boss. Initially, I thought I had to kill this boss and take out the gunners and shoot at it to damage it. But it's not your typical boss fight where you have to kill the boss with your guns. The way it works is you basically have to survive driving for a while. And once you get to a certain distance, the road is going to narrow. And once the road gets narrow, that's your cue to drive ahead of the boss. You want to try to drive in front of him and just speed. And then he's going to get crushed inside that narrow pathway. So that will stop the boss. For most of that fight, though, I recommend staying behind the boss, as it's a lot easier to deal with him if you stay behind him. And when you do go above the boss, you want to look for when he's about to charge, because he'll ram into you and kill you. So you will see when he's about to charge. It'll be noticeable, and when he does that, you want to move, either left or right to stay out of the way of where he's charging. So just keep that in mind. So now the gameplay switches again to a motorcycle type of shooting little scene, and this one's a lot easier than the previous scene, so it's not going to be as challenging. But the game will make up for that in the later areas. So you want to take out those two guys in the truck, and the way to do that is you want to shoot directly in front, to take them out. And just be aware of, when their bullet streams are on the ground, obviously that's going to kill you. So just, avoid when they're firing and try to take them out quickly. Aside from that, you're just going to be weaving in and out of traffic a lot. A lot of times you can ride between the two center lines and stay right in the middle, and you can kind of avoid a lot of traffic that way instead of constantly weaving. So it's somewhat of a semi-safe little area that you can hang out. And you may take out, you may want to take out the occasional motorcycle rider because they will keep trying to ram into you and shoot at you. So take them out. You do get, frequent checkpoints, so as you can see, so it's not too bad. And at the end of this little scene, you fight a helicopter boss, which is basically just jumping 3 ramps and landing a bullet each time on the helicopter. And that will end this sequence. I don't think you take the helicopter out. I think you actually hijack it. And then that's when it transitions to another gameplay sequence with the helicopter. So yeah, the focus here is going to be, again, just dodging and make sure you get to those ramps. You see, I missed one because I didn't understand when I first got here what was going on. But now you'll see I go for the ramps. That was my first death on that checkpoint. So yeah, you just want to jump the ramps and try to line up your shot with the helicopter. So make sure you're continuously firing forward the whole time. And in this part, you can only fire left, right, and up. That's it. You can't fire behind you or anything like that. So it's only 3 firing directions. But for this part, you only want to fire straight ahead of your character. And, when you jump, you should hit the helicopter on those ramps. So once you've completed, 3 shots on the helicopter, you will be riding the helicopter. And this is a much harder sequence than the other 2 sequences. So the idea here is that your machine gun will hit enemies that are in the water, and you'll be able to see where the machine gun is going to hit by the, by the shots hitting the water. You'll see where the shots hit the water, and that indicates where you're going to be able to damage enemies. It's pretty far out in front of your helicopter, and then there is the missiles, which are only used for aerial enemies and shit like other helicopters, jets, and things like that. So aside from that, you just want to, focus. Again, you can adjust your speed in the same way as you did with the car, but you mainly want to focus on up and down movement. You don't really want to be driving at full speed the whole time because it doesn't give you, I like a medium speed. If you're going too fast, it's easy to run into shit. But it's mainly a matter of weaving up and down and shooting shit. So you want to take out these jets with the missiles. Don't hit into the walls, obviously. If you don't take out some of the boats, they can easily shoot you when you're passing by them. But this one's a little tricky. For that one, you have to take out everything with the machine gun on that ship, just like you did with the smaller ones. And I don't think you have to take out all the guns on that ship, but if you don't, it's very easy to get shot when you drive by it. So it's better to take everything out. So for this part, you're just going to be dodging those streams of water that you see. That's where the bullets are, coming from. So you just want to stay in between those little streams of bullets. So just pay attention to the bullet streams and try to stay in the middle. And you can do this at a pretty slow speed, too. You don't even have to drive that fast. You may want to take out some of these boats, but you don't really need to. Definitely take out the helicopters, though, because they shoot some missiles at you, which is very easy to get hit by. Occasionally, you may want to take out some of the jets, but as you can see, you can avoid a lot of them. So as long as you keep firing your missiles, you'll probably take out any that happen to get in the way. And just, weave in and out of these little bullet streams. Some of the checkpoints are a little lengthy. But this is nearing the end of the helicopter sequence and, nearing the final stage. As I said, it's a short game. But it took me I think it took something like 2 hours and 12 minutes or something for me to beat. So it is a little challenging. I definitely died a lot. But it's nothing extreme for these, old style arcade games that it's based off of. So yeah, just stay away from those little bullet streams, basically. That's about it. And keep firing your missiles as you're weaving through. That way, if a jet does try to crash into you, it'll most likely get hit and taken out. So now you end up in kind of an Afterburner style gameplay, except it's a little bit different because your ship is kind of in the background. The ship is driving towards you, which is a little awkward. So the idea here is you want to slow your little jet down so that you're behind the enemies, and when you're behind the enemies, you're going to be machine gunning them in the ass, basically. So that's basically what you're doing. Now, when you hear a beeping sound, you want to use one of your flares, which is one of the face buttons. You want to use that because that will disable the missile so you don't get killed by it. So you only use that when you hear like a beeping sound, which indicates that the missile's going to come out. But aside from that, all you're doing is slowing down and shooting these things in the ass pretty much. And once you take down a certain amount of these jets, you will be on the final boss. I believe there is one checkpoint in this battle. After you destroy the smaller jets, I believe you get a checkpoint at the larger jets that you have to take out. I think that's where the next checkpoint is. But you do have to take out quite a few of these before you get to that point, so it does take a little while. But once you understand the pattern of this, it's very easy. It's just a matter of slowing down and concentrating fire on the back of them and taking them all out. I died a number of times on this because I wasn't sure exactly what I was supposed to do, but it's very easy once you understand what to do. The boss is quite difficult, although the final boss is the hardest part of the game for sure. So that, I think that could use some explaining on a safe way to play it. So now you have these larger ships that you want to take out, but it's really not hard. Just concentrate fire on them. I mean, they're larger targets, so they should be easier to hit. And with the final boss, there's one attack that I kept getting hit by that I could not figure out for a while. And I'm going to explain that, and that should save you a lot of time. Just knowing how to dodge that one attack should save a lot of time. Because, I was getting far into the boss fight early on, but I would keep dying from that. And it's actually very easy to avoid. But yeah, this does go on for a little while. The boss fight is quite long, too, and tedious. But, it's a cool fight, but it's a little tedious. But you can see this does go on for a little while, but it's very easy. But I believe the final boss is coming up pretty soon. Yeah, so this should be the final boss. Now, once you get to this final boss, it's a checkpoint. So you will start on the final boss whenever you die. So now the way to do this final boss, I recommend taking out these two center engines first that you see me taking out, the one on the left and the one on the right. Take these two out first. There is an order to do all this stuff that makes it easier, so that's why I recommend that. Now, after you're done doing that, you want to take out these missile shooting things. So, concentrate on one first and take one of them out. I don't recommend trying to distribute the damage evenly between the left and right wings because then you end up with other issues. So take that out and then focus on taking out this machine gun thing, which is one of the trickier things to shoot at because it shoots very fast. And the bullets that it shoots blends in with your own. But what you need to do is you need to shoot it and then immediately move to the left as soon as it pops out. Now now that's the spiraling missiles that I was talking about dodging. You saw how I dodged those spiraling missiles that move in a circular motion? All you have to do to dodge those is accelerate so that your jet moves all the way to the front of the screen. Just accelerate. I believe it's holding up or some shit like that. You'll accelerate. You see me do it again? That's all you have to do. I was trying to follow the missiles and dodge them that way, left to right, which is not how you do it. All you have to do is accelerate like this. See, I'm using my turbo basically, and I'm accelerating to the front of the screen. So that's all you do. Just accelerate to the front of the screen. I don't even think you have to move left or right. I think all you have to do is hold up or some shit to accelerate to the front of the screen. So aside from that, that's the hardest move to dodge. See that? I mean, that's all you have to do though is drive to the front of the screen. So once you know that, just be patient. And when that triple laser comes out, you just have to position yourself where the lines are not at, because once they solidify, you will get killed. But aside from that, dodge these spiraling missiles and just take your shots at this missile launcher. And one of the most dangerous things for me was that machine gun that pops up. Underneath that circular manhole cover type of gun, it's a machine gun, and that it can blend in with your shots. So sometimes I didn't see it. Even when I was paying attention, I couldn't see it. So just be careful of that and try to get the shots in on it. But that's why I say take out everything on the left wing first so that you can just focus on this one side and finish off the boss. Because you really don't want both wings going at the same time, It's better just to take one side out first, and then you can finish off that final side that's left over. And as long as you're patient, you should get it. You might get killed occasionally by that machine gun fire since it is sneaky. But you should get the idea after a while. You got to move very quickly to one side when the machine gun fire comes out. You only want to get in like maybe a shot or two. And you don't want to sit there for too long or you'll just die. So you just got to be patient with that. The one that shoots the missiles is very easy, though. Just, sit on it for a little while, and the missiles are pretty slow, so you have time to move out of the way with that one. But the machine gun shoots very, very fast, so you want to get in a few pellets and then immediately you just move. Don't be in a rush to take those out. And I believe you can end this boss fight early if you just take out that middle engine. So, if you're comfortable with it, you could just take out the middle engine. And I believe that would end the boss fight. But I didn't try that because I thought maybe I had to destroy everything on the ship. But it turned out I didn't need to even destroy that other machine gun pod. And I think there was a few other little pods I didn't destroy. So I think if you want to just kill the boss, you can decide which ones you want to take out. That makes it easier. But just, focus on taking out the engine if you want to end it early. So yeah, now you have this little free-falling sequence, but it is a checkpoint. And it's very easy. So at this point you should be fine, but you just need to fall through here without getting hit. The little smokestacks will give you an idea of where to move your character, so use that as a guide. But yeah, that's pretty much it. After this, you've beaten the game. You can try arcade mode. That may be limited lives and continues if you want an extra challenge. I think there's harder difficulties as well. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.